You're on a date. She's attractive, interesting, laughing at your jokes. By all measures, this should feel exciting, but instead, you're sitting there feeling nothing. No spark, no attraction, just a weird emotional flatness. You go home, open your laptop, and suddenly your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. Dopamine floods your system. You feel alive again. But it's not another person making you feel this way. It's pixels on a screen. If this hits uncomfortably close to home, you're not alone. And here's the thing. This isn't about willpower or morality. This is about neuroscience. Your brain has been fundamentally rewired by the most sophisticated behavioral conditioning system ever created, and nobody warned you it was happening. I spend way too much time thinking about how years of adult content consumption affects your brain's ability to form relationships. If you've been struggling with feeling disconnected from real people, losing attraction to partners, or wondering why dating feels emotionally empty, the next few minutes will change everything. I'm going to show you exactly why this happens and what actually works to fix it. No fluff, just science. Find a quiet spot, stay until the end, and if this finally clicks for you, let me know by hitting the like button. Okay, let's start now. So let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain. When you consume adult content, especially when facilitated by streaming algorithms, you're not just watching videos, you're training your brain's reward circuitry in ways that fundamentally change how you experience attraction, intimacy, and emotional connection. Here's what most people don't realize. Your brain doesn't distinguish between real experiences and simulated ones when it comes to reward processing. When you watch adult content, your brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in falling in love, forming bonds, and experiencing pleasure with a real partner. But here's the kicker. The dopamine response to novel sexual imagery is significantly higher than what you'd experience with a familiar partner. A study from the Max Planck Institute found that men who consumed more adult content actually had less gray matter in the striatum, the part of the brain responsible for reward processing and motivation. We're talking measurable physical brain changes. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I can stop whenever I want. It's just entertainment. Look, that's what everyone thinks, but here's the reality. Streaming platforms use the same algorithmic optimization that keeps you scrolling through TikTok or binge-watching Netflix. Every click, every search term, every second you spend watching trains the algorithm to serve you increasingly specific, increasingly novel content designed to maximize engagement. You're not dealing with a static magazine from the 1990s. You're dealing with an AI that learns your preferences faster than you understand them yourself and serves you an endless stream of supernormal stimuli. And this is where it gets really interesting. Your brain evolved to seek sexual novelty. It's called the Coolidge effect. In nature, this made evolutionary sense, but evolution never prepared your brain for unlimited access to thousands of new potential partners every single day. Each new video, each new face, each new scenario triggers that novelty response. Your brain gets a dopamine spike, and over time, what happens? Your baseline dopamine sensitivity decreases. This is called desensitization, and it's the same mechanism behind any addiction. Let me give you a relatable analogy. Imagine you've been eating the most intense, artificially flavored candy every single day for years. Super sour, super sweet, way more intense than anything found in nature. Now someone hands you an apple. Sure, the apple is objectively good, it's nutritious, it's real, it's what your body actually needs, but to your taste buds that have been obliterated by artificial intensity, the apple tastes bland, boring, not worth the effort. That's exactly what's happening with your brain's ability to experience attraction to real people. Here's the psychological mechanism nobody talks about. Adult content consumption doesn't just affect dopamine, it affects your brain's ability to form pair bonds. There's a neurochemical called oxytocin that's released during physical intimacy, eye contact, and emotional connection. It's literally the bonding chemical. When you repeatedly experience sexual arousal and climax in isolation, staring at a screen, you're training your brain to associate peak sexual experience with being alone. You're conditioning yourself to bond with pixels instead of people. A 2016 study published in Behavioral Sciences found that men in committed relationships who consumed adult content regularly reported significantly lower relationship satisfaction, lower emotional intimacy, and were more likely to cheat or leave their partners. 64% reported their consumption negatively affected their relationships. That's not a small number. This isn't a fringe problem affecting a few people. This is a widespread rewiring of how humans experience intimacy in the digital age. Now, here's what happens when you try to connect with a real person after years of this conditioning. Real relationships require patience. They require dealing with another person's emotions, moods, bad days, vulnerabilities. Real attraction builds slowly. Real intimacy requires uncomfortable conversations and emotional risk. But your brain has been trained to expect instant gratification, infinite variety, zero emotional labor, and complete control over the experience. No wonder real people feel disappointing by comparison. This is where the psychology and technology converge in a really destructive way. The streaming platforms use the same engagement optimization strategies as social media. They track what you click on, how long you watch, when you're most likely to return. They use recommendation algorithms to serve you an endless buffet of content specifically calibrated to your preferences. They remove all friction from access. No shame of walking into a store, no limitation of physical media, just infinite content one click away, 24/7, completely private. This isn't a fair fight. You're trying to use willpower against a system designed by some of the smartest engineers in the world to be as addictive as possible. Look, I see this pattern constantly in my work. Smart, successful people who can't figure out why they feel emotionally dead in their relationships, why they're swiping through dating apps feeling nothing, why they're fantasizing about pixels instead of the person lying next to them. And the common thread? Years of training their brain that sexual reward comes from screens, novelty, and isolation rather than from vulnerable human connection. Here's the thing that really gets me. Nobody talks about this. Sex education never prepared you for this. Your parents didn't warn you because this technology didn't exist when they were young. Society treats it as a joke or a moral issue rather than a neurological one. So millions of people are walking around with rewired brains, unable to form the intimate connections they desperately want. And they think it's their fault. They think they're broken. They're not broken. They're responding exactly as any human brain would to this environment. So what can you actually do about this? Here's my framework for rewiring your brain's ability to connect with real people. First, you need a complete reset period. I'm talking minimum 90 days of zero adult content consumption. Why 90 days? Because that's approximately how long it takes for dopamine receptors to begin upregulating, returning to normal sensitivity. This isn't about willpower. This is about giving your brain the biological time it needs to heal. Use website blockers, accountability software, whatever tools you need. Remove the option to fail. Second, actively retrain your reward system with real human interaction. This means putting yourself in situations where you have to connect with actual people, not just romantically, but socially. Eye contact, conversation, vulnerability, emotional presence. These are the skills your brain has been avoiding. Start small. Make eye contact with the barista. Have an actual phone conversation instead of texting. Go on dates where physical intimacy is off the table and you have to actually connect emotionally. Third, understand that this process will feel uncomfortable. Remember that Apple analogy? Real connection is going to feel bland at first compared to the artificial intensity you've been consuming. That's not because real connection is inadequate. It's because your brain's sensitivity is broken. You have to sit with the discomfort and trust that sensitivity returns. This is the hardest part, and it's where most people fail. Fourth, track your progress objectively. Keep a journal of how you feel during social interactions, dates, moments of attraction to real people. You're looking for subtle improvements over weeks and months, not dramatic overnight changes. Your brain didn't get rewired in a day, and it won't heal in a day either. Look, here's the bottom line. Your inability to feel connected to real people isn't a character flaw. It's a predictable neurological outcome of conditioning your brain with supernormal stimuli delivered by algorithms designed to maximize engagement. You're not weak, you're not broken, you're not defective. You're responding exactly as any human brain would to this environment. But here's the good news. Neuroplasticity is real. Your brain can change. Those dopamine receptors can heal. Your capacity for pair bonding, for experiencing attraction to real people, for feeling that spark of connection, all of that can come back. but only if you understand what you're up against and commit to the actual neurological recovery process, not just white-knuckling your way through willpower. If you're watching this and recognizing yourself in this pattern, please hear me. The relationships, the intimacy, the deep human connection you want, they're all still possible, but not while your brain is wired to bond with screens. Time to choose what you actually want. That's it for today's video. If this finally helped you understand what's been happening to your brain, hit that like button. Drop a comment if you're committing to the 90-day reset. I read every single one, and I'll be here supporting you. Subscribe to Mindware TV for more psychology insights for the digital age. And remember, your mind is the most powerful technology you'll ever own. But first, you have to take it back from the algorithms. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.